The Galactic Academy's xenobiology lab fell silent as Shadow prowled into the room. The predator cub, barely 6 months old by Velcrian standards, was already the size of a small shuttle. Its obsidian scales gleamed under the sterile lights, and its 6 eyes tracked every movement with predatory precision. The cadets from a dozen different species pressed themselves against the walls, their survival instincts screaming at them to flee. Tom leaned against his workstation, arms crossed, watching the scene with mild amusement. Shadow's species. The Velcrians were apex predators from a death world that made most militaries nervous. They hunted in packs, could survive in vacuum for short periods, and their bite force could crush durasteel. The fact that one was loose in the academy was either a catastrophic security failure or someone's idea of a practical exam. Tom suspected the latter. The cub's nostril slits flared as it scented the air. Its gaze swept across the frozen cadets, a Threskin with 4 arms trembling against the supply cabinet, a gelatinous Keeksar trying to make itself smaller, a proud Zenthari warrior whose crest had flattened in fear. Then Shadow's multiple eyes locked onto Tom. The human didn't move. Shadow advanced, each step deliberate and measured. Its claws clicked against the polished floor. The sound echoed in the silent room like a countdown to violence. 3 meters away. 2 meters. 1. Then Shadow snarled. It was a sound designed by evolution to freeze prey in terror. A deep, reverberating growl that carried subsonic frequencies meant to trigger panic in mammalian nervous systems. The windows vibrated. Several cadets whimpered. The Keeksar lost cohesion entirely and pooled on the floor. Tom's smile widened. He pushed off from the workstation and took a step forward, closing the distance between himself and the predator cub. Then, meeting Shadow's 6-eyed glare with his own 2-eyed stare, Tom snarled back. It wasn't a human scream or shout. It was something primal, dredged up from humanity's own predatory past, a sound that came from the chest and throat, carried with it the weight of a species that had climbed to the top of Earth's food chain, not through size or natural weapons, but through sheer, stubborn persistence. Shadow's eyes widened. All 6 of them. The cub took a step back. "That's right," Tom said, his voice low and steady. "I see you, little hunter." He took another step forward. Shadow retreated again, its head lowering slightly, not in submission, but in reassessment. This prey was acting wrong. Prey didn't challenge. Prey didn't advance. Prey certainly didn't smile while doing it. From the back of the room, Instructor Vexnall's tentacles rippled with what might have been approval. The ancient mollusci had seen many species pass through the academy, but humans always managed to surprise. "Cadet Tom," Vexnall's translator rendered his gurgling speech into standard. "Perhaps you could explain to your classmates why you're still alive." Tom didn't take his eyes off Shadow. Because Shadow here is young and smart. Smart enough to recognize another predator when he sees one. "Preposterous," hissed Catharn, the Zenthari cadet, though he still hadn't moved from his position pressed against the wall. "Humans are prey species. You have forward-facing eyes, yes, but you lack claws, venom, natural armor." "We have something better," Tom interrupted. He slowly extended his hand toward Shadow, palm down, moving with careful deliberation. "We have the ability to make friends with apex predators." Shadow sniffed at Tom's hand, nostrils flaring. The cub's tongue, forked and black, flicked out, tasting the air around the human's skin. Then, in a movement that made several cadets gasp, Shadow's head pushed up into Tom's palm. Tom scratched behind the cub's auditory ridge, and Shadow's tail, spiked and deadly, began to wag. "Impossible," Catharn whispered. "Not impossible," Vexnall corrected, his tentacles gesturing at a hollow screen that flickered to life. "Improbable. Humans have a peculiar gift for what they call domestication. On their homeworld, they befriended wolves, creatures that hunted their ancestors. They made companions of great cats, birds of prey, even reptilian predators from their ancient past." Tom continued scratching Shadow's scales, and the cub made a sound somewhere between a purr and a rumble. "My great-grandmother had 3 Velcrians, raised them from cubs after their pack mother died. They protected her farm for 40 years. But the snarl," the Threskin cadet ventured, its voice shaking. "You challenged a predator. That should have triggered an attack response." "Shadow challenged me first," Tom explained. He was testing. Predators respect strength. They respect boundaries. When I snarled back, I wasn't being aggressive, I was communicating. I was saying, I'm not prey. I'm not a threat. I'm something else. And the smile. Kixar had managed to regain its form and wobbled forward. Why smile at danger? Tom's grin returned. Because humans are crazy enough to find joy in risk. We're the species that looked at the ocean and decided to sail across it without knowing what was on the other side. We're the ones who saw mountains and decided to climb them just to see the view. We survived ice ages, predators, plagues, and each other. He looked around at his fellow cadets. Fear is useful, but fear alone won't make you a good officer. Shadow butted his head against Tom's chest, nearly knocking him over. Tom laughed and steadied himself. Instructor Vexnall's tentacles formed what humans had learned to recognize as a smile. Lesson concluded. Shadow, return to your handler. The cub gave Tom one last affectionate headbutt before bounding toward the door, where a keeper waited. As the room slowly came back to life, cadets peeling themselves off walls and collecting scattered equipment, Catharn approached Tom with visible reluctance. You humans, the Zenthari said slowly, are unsettling. Tom clapped him on the shoulder. Wait until you see what we do with spiders. Catharn's crest flattened again. I'm afraid to ask. Some of us keep them as pets. The Zenthari warrior made a sound like a kettle boiling over and retreated to his workstation, muttering prayers to his ancestors. Tom chuckled and returned to his own station, already composing the message he'd send home. His younger sister had been asking about academy life. He had a feeling she'd love this story. After all, humans didn't conquer the stars through fear. They did it by looking at the dark, dangerous unknown and smiling at the challenge.